Being poor is so damn expensive.
Being poor is really expensive.
Being poor is so expensive.
Being poor is so expensive, and it is a lot cheaper to be rich.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about something super important: how expensive it is to be poor in America. If you have ever struggled financially, you probably know what I'm talking about. But for those who don't, this video will open your eyes to the hidden cost of being broke.
Being poor is so damn expensive. You don't have insurance and you can't afford to go to the doctor, then you have to have a $4,000 procedure a couple of years down the line. You have to go online and pay your bills. They're going to charge you a 1.5% fee. If you are late on a bill and they charge you a $100 fee, if I couldn't afford the bill in the first place, how am I going to afford the damn fee? If your bank goes in overdraft, they're going to charge you $35. Being poor is expensive, and I think that has been the best thing that has come out of this conversation, is that people are finally acknowledging that poverty for most people is not a choice. It is the result of circumstances within this country that make it to where people are working 40, 50, 60 hours a week and still cannot afford to exist in this country. They can't afford basic needs like food, clothing, shelter, any of that. And the thing is, it wasn't just in the last 4 years that this started happening. People have been poor for quite some time. And that is absolutely ridiculous. Your car breaks down, you can't get your car fixed, so then you can't make it to work, and it's just too much. A better world is possible.
Being poor is really expensive. For example, I need a new used car, but I can only afford a car that's about the $2,000 to $3,000 range. I can't really afford anything from a dealership or to get an auto loan. After scrimping and saving and looking at cars for months and months, cars that had all sorts of crap wrong with them, I found one that seemed like okay and seemed like trustworthy people to buy from. I went over to them, checked out the car, gave them my hard-earned money, and then on the way home, I had a blowout. And then after I had a tow truck, a very expensive tow truck, because I can't afford to have AAA, tow me to a repair shop, I get told that 3 out of the 4 tires need to be replaced. And also the wheel well that's holding one of the tires on is messed up, and that needs to be fixed. So now this cheap car has cost me an extra $400. And then driving it home from the repair shop, the blinkers go out. Plus a myriad of other problems with this car that I don't know about yet. Money that I don't really have, that I've been saving for months in order to have a car that I thought would be reliable and take me around town. Because I never will be able to afford a new car. And that's just one of many examples on how poor people having to buy lower quality stuff means that they spend more money over time maintaining that shitty stuff or buying more of that shitty stuff than someone who could just buy the nicer thing.
Being poor is so expensive, and it is a lot cheaper to be rich. There are like a million examples that I can give, but one of the first things I think about is like all these credit card benefits. Like I paid for a flight yesterday that was like $700, and I had like $700 in flight points, and the flight was basically free. Cost me nothing besides the fact that I am an avid user of my Chase Sapphire Reserve card. Now, you mean other people who are going to be on that same flight and going to spend their $700 on their own hard-earned money? And if it was me going through that flight, I get free lounge access, I get TSA pre-checked, global entry, never pay for that, it comes with the credit card. I get free hotel nights, I get upgrades. Meanwhile, poor people don't have health insurance. One wrong thing, or car insurance, even insurance in general, one thing happens with your car, one thing happens with your health, and suddenly you're in mountains and mountains and mountains of debt. It is so fucking expensive to be poor. The next time you want to defend a rich person as a poor person, just remember, like, don't ever defend men, don't ever defend rich people.
I just had to ask my mom for my birthday money early, and 50 of it is going to gas. I cannot wait to spend the other 50 on 3 things from the grocery store.
I promise this is not to be offensive, but have y'all noticed that we have normalized poverty? There was a guy on TikTok talking about how he doesn't like the fact that he's 50 years old and he has to have a roommate because things are so expensive. And the tone deaf comments of people saying things such as, oh, well, you have to live below your means, or, oh, you need to just go ahead and get an RV. Not realizing that the RVs and the tiny homes, the trailers, which were the solutions to the problems, are now also unaffordable. Just a few years ago, tiny homes started to become popular, and they were priced at about $30,000, $40,000. Currently, tiny homes start at double that amount right now. All I'm trying to say is there's a bigger problem at hand, and telling people that they need to just completely deprive themselves of basic necessities such as a home. Y'all don't think that's weird? I don't know.
Growing up, my mom was always saying that it's expensive to be poor, and the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And I was reminded of that today because I was going through my bank statements and I had a charge in December for $12 and it was marked as monthly maintenance fee, but I'd never had that before and I haven't had it in the month since. So I chatted with like the little robot, whatever person on Bank of America, and I asked them like, what's up with this $12 fee? And the lady looks into it and she's like, oh yeah, like there's this monthly maintenance fee, but we waive it if you either have a deposit over this amount each month, your account balance is over this amount, or your preferred like member. And I'm thinking and I'm realizing like that was the month when I was between serving full time and looking for my new job. So like I didn't have a paycheck or anything deposited. My account had gone below a certain level. But then I'm like, oh wait, like I'm a preferred rewards member, whatever it is. She's like, oh yeah, like we actually looked at your account when it got below this certain level and you're no longer preferred. So I'm like, okay, damn, like you're really kicking me when I'm down. Like I have the least amount of money I've ever had and I don't have a deposit and then you charge me more on top of it. But ultimately, like whatever, it's $12 and I'm lucky that doesn't really matter to me right now. But then I was thinking of when I was younger and like my mom and I were really struggling and one of our biggest sources of income was like my Dunkin' Donuts paycheck, which was maybe like $140 a week. And how we were constantly getting late fees and they were always $35. It was like overdraft protection. So basically what would happen is like I have $55 in my bank account. Keep in mind, we're not even using credit cards. It's straight debit. So we're not even like overspending on credit. Like we're just, this is all the money we have. We're using it for basic necessities. And it'd be like, all right, I have $55 in my bank account. The phone bill, whatever the fuck hits, $70. Okay, negative 15. Okay, immediate negative 35 for the overdraft protection fee. So now it's like I'm negative $50. My next paycheck comes in, it takes $50 out of that. So then like the next bill, we're short $20. And it's just like an ever evolving cycle of every month, normally like 2 times a month, we're paying $70 in overdraft fees. And it's funny because that overdraft fee was over 20% of my weekly income. But to someone who made $1,000 a week or $2,000 a week or $100,000 a week, they would, one, never notice that fee if they ever got it, but two, they would never get that fee because their account would never go below zero. They would never not have the deposit. They just would never run into that problem. And that's why it's so expensive being poor, and the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. This can be applied to so many other things. So for example, I just had to renew my car insurance and it was for 6 months. If I paid for the 6 months in advance, I think it was like $550, I want to say. But if I didn't, it would be a total of like $750 over the 6 months. So I'm able to save $200 if I can pay it all at once, but otherwise if I can't, I have to pay $200 more. And if you're poor, guess what option you're going with because you have no other option. And the kicker is that $200 savings would really mean a lot to you, but you don't have that option. And it's the same thing with car payments and student loans and even things like the quality of your shoes or your jackets. Like you're buying the cheaper pair of shoes, that's all you can afford. You have to buy a new pair the next year. Parking tickets even, like you park on the street because you can't afford a parking spot, you get ticketed. Someone who can afford a parking spot, if they got that parking ticket, it wouldn't matter that much, but to you it does. So you fight it in court, you have to take time off work. It compounds and it compounds, and it truly is crazy. It's the same thing we see nowadays with Trump and the Republicans, and how like the bottom 20, 40, 60% pays the most in taxes and the billionaires pay the least, even though the taxes that the poorest people pay hit them the hardest. It's such a big percentage of their income and actually matters because every $20 actually matters to poor people. And the rich people, they barely pay their share, and even if they paid what they were supposed to, they wouldn't even fucking notice. Drives me insane.
Being poor is so expensive. If you've never been poor, this might not be a concept that you understand.
When you're poor, you can only afford so much, so this might mean buying the cheaper option that often is damaged or ruined very easily because it's cheap. This means neglecting your medical and your dental care because you cannot afford it, and these problems turn into bigger issues, especially dental care. Not to mention getting charged more for being broke, so things like overdraft fees and late payments costing you even more money. Even worse, being so broke that you cannot afford childcare, which means you cannot work and you do not have your own source of income. I don't know if I would say if I'm poor anymore, because I have come a long way, but I have been through all those scenarios. I literally did not work for a few years because I had no one to watch my children for me. I have major dental problems now for years of not being able to afford a dentist. There are things that happen to poor people. I understand how hard it is to get yourself out of that hole. It seems like an impossible feat sometimes.
People are struggling and it feels like the government are not doing enough to help. Many families are stuck in poverty and they are not getting the real support they need. We need programs that actually help people get out of poverty, not just some temporary fix. It's time to stop blaming people for being poor. Poverty is not just their failure. It is a bigger system problem. We need to come together to make sure everybody has a shot at better life.